have the beginnings of a working program for our ransom program. Now let's talk specifically about how we're going to mutate the text. And we've seen this several times where we define some text, some string value. I can use I'll open up a Python REPL here. If I assign that and I want to change the first letter from a lowercase y to an uppercase y, if I say text at 0 is equal to an uppercase y, that's not allowed. Strings are immutable. I can create a new string that takes an uppercase y and then appends that, uses the plus sign for the rest of the string. And then override the value of text, and we've seen how to do that with like the telephone the telephone program that we wrote. So we have an idea of how we're going to do this. We're going to need to build up a new string. We can't directly modify it. We could directly modify a list, and that's another way that you could go about solving this. I'm going to try to lead you down a particular path here. You're welcome to solve this any way that you feel qualified to do so, but I'm going to make you try to think about writing a function that will choose any one letter. So thinking about this text as a list of characters, how can we produce a new list of characters where the character has been randomly made uppercase or lowercase? And this is very much in line with the way that we try to solve the jumper program initially, where we iterated over for each character in the input string. We could do the same thing here. I'd like you to think about this function called choose. And as is normal, I'm going to first write a test for this. So the test for this is going to be it's going to start with test underscore, because I'm going to use the PyTest module to run this program, to run this function for me. And this function is going to the first thing it's going to do is it's going to set it's going to get the state of the random module right now, because this is a global the state is a global condition that affects which choices are made. So we've already talked a little bit about the fact that random numbers aren't truly random, they're only pseudo-random. So there is a state, an underlying state in the random module that determines what is the next number that's going to be chosen. Whenever we set a random seed, we're changing that global state of the program. Even for another function in another module that we didn't write, but if we're using that module and it also uses the random module, then we could be affecting the way that module is working. So we don't want to make a global change and then not be able to undo that change. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to save the current state of the random module, and then we're going to set this to a known value. So we're just going to say 1. And under the condition of starting with a random seed of 1, this hypothetical function that we'll write called choose, when it's given a lowercase a, it's going to return a lowercase a. Same for a lowercase b, but when we give it a lowercase c, the third thing that it's going to do is return an uppercase c. And then for the lowercase d, it's going to return a lowercase d. After we've run through a few tests, we're going to reset the state to be back to what it was before we started. And that's what our test is going to look like. So if I want to pop that into my function here, I can, let's see if I can copy and paste this without too much effort. Let's see what this looks like. If I paste, not too bad. I just have to clean this up a little bit. I can get rid of these line numbers. A little bit of tedious. And then let's see, I'll try to format my code. I guess I'll need to indent these. And I like to have these little separators here. You don't have to if you don't want them. Now save this. Let's see if it formats okay. And which means that we're going to need to define a function called choose that's going to take some character and it's going to return some character. Return an upper or lowercase character. And for now, we'll just have it return char. So it's not going to do what it's supposed to do. It'll pass these first couple of tests though. So let's see what we've got here. If I run PyTest on my ransom function, let's see. Oh, it's unhappy about that. So let's run PyTest, and I like to run it with the -v option on my ransom function. It's going to tell me, oopsie, random is not defined because I have not yet brought in the random module. So let me import random. And then let's try running this again. Okay, so when it's given A, it returns A. When given B, it returns B. When given C, it should return an uppercase C, and in this case, it's not. And that's because we wrote it to always return the character itself. So now we need to understand test choose. Now we need to figure out how to make this actually randomly return an upper or lowercase string. So that's the next thing that we're going to talk about with regard to flipping a coin. I do want to mention this bit of a call out here. How did I know what would be returned here? Well, as it worked out, and as it often happens with writing code like this, I actually had to go write the function first and then see what it does under the condition of setting the random seed to 1. And then I put that into my test to say, well, this is what it did under those conditions. And then if I make a change in the future, I'll know that I somehow affected this function. We can talk a little more about that after we write the function in the next section.